Take two. And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Defo on 5. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. I like the fact that it's no nonsense with you and me, Lubie. We just roll right into this thing, man. Don't even say hello, no good morning. Just like, here's the music and let's go. It doesn't matter. You could be pulling up your pants. You could be scratching your balls. Makes no difference. Anyway, good to be with you and a very, very exciting time. Oh, my God, Lubie. Have you ever gotten off to a bad start at anything?
Hello.
What,
Nice.
what do you think about it? I mean, you go to work for the first time someplace, you screw everything up. All of a sudden, everybody thinks you're a fool, and you can never shake that image, that impression that you left on the opening day. Um, you go out on a date, you got a hot babe, you got a first time starter, maybe you met her somewhere, and she gave you your number, and you decide to meet someplace fancy schmancy like the Cafe Max or some high end restaurant, Cafe Seville. And, things are going well the first couple of minutes, and you reach across the table to hold her hand, and what do? You knock a giant goblet of red wine across the table and all over her white dress. And she has no, either she laughs right away. In fact, that might be a move to test out whether you're really with the person that you want to be with. She either laughs right away and brushes it off or gets up and walks out in a huff. What do you think?
Just throw a line at her.
She gets up and walks out. You save yourself the tab that you would have had to pay on an expensive dinner.
Oh man.
So maybe that's not such a bad thing. But horrendous start for the Florida Panthers last night. In fact, I had thrown in the towel at 2-0, and then I was about to. I was trying to figure out a time when I could do the walk of life. Still, see the game. It takes me about an hour and a half to navigate my way around the block here, and so it got to be 2-0. And I'm thinking, okay, I may as well just get up and go do the walk right now because there's no point watching the rest of this. It's going to end up being 6-2, and that's going to be 1-1 in the series. Toronto comes down here, tries to get a split and regain the home ice advantage. Although I'm not sure that that's as much of an important imperative mission in the NHL as it is maybe in the NBA or perhaps in Major League Baseball. Certainly in football, you want to have the home field advantage. Home ice advantage hasn't meant a whole lot. We know that it almost seemed like cliche coming into the postseason. Well, you don't really have to care so much about home ice advantage, but it's shown up to be true. You don't need to go back to old trends from the 1920s to find out that road teams are having great success so far in the NHL playoffs through round one and the early stages of round two, including the new Sergei Bobrovsky led. Help me out with that sound there. The voice was a little bit off here today. Let me try it again. It's hard to make those high, soprano-like notes when you've had some kind of throat issue. It's been persisting for a couple of days, but nothing serious here. As I feel fine. Nonetheless, I had thrown in the towel, and then just as I'm leaving, I see the Panthers at 2-0 stave off an early power play by the Toronto Maple Leafs. They'd already given up a goal on a power play. They gave up a goal prior to that, very early in the game. Looked like Sergei Bobrovsky was going to be typical Sergei Bobrovsky, no better than having a beached whale in front of the pipes or the proverbial sumo wrestler. And there was little reason to believe that the Panthers were going to bounce back in this game. It was the Lubie special where they toss one in. They already got the first game. They could have gone for the jugular, but they were content with the split. Come back home, try to win two, and next thing you know, you're back in command of the series. But I don't know, Lumi. What was your feeling at 2-0? Were you cursing? You must have been screaming at the screen in Russian, I think, at Sergei Bobrovsky because he gave up a really bad goal on the second one. He was being pressured, and Toronto looked like it was really on its game. The Maple Leafs were really playing well in the early stages of this matchup last night. And then Bobrovsky makes a save, and he actually puts the puck on a tee while there are six Maple Leafs swarming around the net there, including the goalie. And they give up a second goal, and you thought that's it. But they did stave off that power play, and I thought, wow, if Toronto goes up 3-0, this game is over. But if somehow the Panthers can hang in there, maybe they chip away at this thing and they come back, they get back into the game. So by the time I got halfway through my walk, I'm walking by the Briny Pub, famous Irish beach bar that has been an establishment of great success for many, many years. It's always packed in there. I decided to peek in through the windows and see if I could catch a score on the TV because I don't bring anything with me. I don't bring a phone or any kind of stuff. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just essentially talking to myself for an hour and a half of this walk, which it couldn't have been any more beautiful. I mean, last night might have been the most beautiful evening I've ever experienced here in South Florida, and that includes having sex on the beach with hot women. It was just great. The full moon was out there. The air was beautiful. You're walking by the beach essentially. So I peek in. I see it's 2-1. I thought, wow, maybe I came to a premature evaluation on this game. And that's how the way the first period ended. The Panthers get two quick goals in the second period, about a minute apart, and they end up winning. Lubie winning, and then it struck me. Sergei Bobrovsky is on a roll. He was dynamite in the third period. Is it possible that this guy that has been the subject of just an onslaught of ridicule? He's fat, he's slow, he's making too much money. It was one of the biggest mistakes in franchise history. This is a guy that has been the subject of virtually every joke that you could possibly be targeted with, right? You talk about humiliation and abuse. Sergei Bobrovsky, I don't know that he cares about it because I'm not even sure if, he knows this is going on. But, we've referred to him as being the fat guy, the blind guy. I mean, Stevie Wonder references. And it seems like everybody else does. Nobody is more harsh on Bobrovsky than you. So
I hate him.
you had to be feeling pretty lame after the second goal was given up there because that literally, if you were at the Doc Reno golf tournament today, you could not have a bigger tee-up job than that. And it looked like it was going to be the typical thing where the home team responds after getting beaten and fairly handily in the first game of the series, but they bounce back. But this is not the NBA. You realize in that situation where the home team has lost the first game of a series in the NBA, 16 consecutive times the home team has come back and won the second game. 16 consecutive series. That's happened.
Yep.
Not so. This is the NHL. This is the Wild West. And now the Panthers find themselves in a commanding. I mean, this is what you want. 2-0 going back home. Chance to close it out. And maybe the Maple Leafs go back to Toronto and the season's over for them. It's possible. But you would think at the very least the Panthers are capable of splitting those two games and taking a big 3-1 edge in a series. A big reversal in form from what happened early in the Boston series. What do you think, Lubie? I mean, at what point did you give up hope, and at what point did you start having to apologize to the people that you texted it's over?
I didn't text anyone. It's over. That's your move. We were at I was at Landlubbers doing trivia when the game was on, so that was fun.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they actually had a nice contingent. It's the one place maybe in South Florida that gives a shit about the Panthers because it's literally, usually most people stop there on the way to the Panthers. It's literally 5 minutes away from Florida Live Arena. So a lot of those people, even though it was in Toronto, they're not going to go and watch it at the arena. This is South Florida, but they watched it there. And there was a lot of people there for Panthers games. And they got down 1-0. Then you saw the power play. And then you just saw like 12 Maple Leafs standing there in front of Bobrovsky for like the entire power play. Like, oh, they're going to score here.
Yeah.
Obviously, score 2-0. And then literally a minute later, they get a second penalty for the second straight game in the first 4 minutes of the game. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's no way they're going to let Toronto go down 2-0 or 0-2 at home. Like, there's
looked like the fix was in. It did.
Yeah, I don't know about fix, but it looks whatever you want to call Scott Foster. I never said that Foster is literally a fix. It's fucking weird that the Heat have lost 9 straight games with him reffing. Like,
you would say there was a trend there that you might be able to start to, find some, relevance in. No question.
So whether the NA Bettman's pushing it, whatever it is, there's only 2 Canadian teams left. And Toronto is right there with Edmonton as a team that people thought could go far. So to have them go down 0-2 at home, now this makes perfect sense. Well, then they don't give up a goal. And like you said, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That was a little momentum swinger, I believe.
But what was interesting was the fact that they got because knowing them, they would have gone down 2-0 the entire period. I was like, shit, if they can get 1 goal here, it changed. Because now it's a 1-goal game. And a 1-goal game is nothing. It's just a regular hockey game. And they did. Like halfway through the first period, they got that goal. And you could see they calmed down. And you could see the Maple Leafs started to go, oh, okay. And from that point on, they I don't know if they dominated because they didn't shoot a lot of pucks at the other net.
No, they were outshot in the game.
The entire game.
Yeah. I mean, they were. The Maple Leafs had more hits in the game. The Maple Leafs did everything statistically that would lead you to believe that they would have won the game.
Bobrovsky just played out of his mind. Like Bobrovsky did what I didn't think he could do in a Panther uniform. And they got the 2 quick goals in the second period to where they were able to stem the tide. And I thought they'd find a way to lose. I mean, to go 2 whole periods without allowing a goal. I did
That's
not
pretty
see
incredible, yeah, especially with Bobrovsky looking like he'd been on shaky turf the entire season. Although, people kept claiming that, when the discussion was there about whether to start Alex Lyon against the Bruins in the playoffs or bring in your $10 million man, $10 million a season man, Sergei Bobrovsky, who had proven, I mean, he did carry the Columbus Blue Jackets to the conference finals when they didn't have that great of a team. I mean, they swept through a couple of series there, and, including the Tampa Bay Lightning,
the
who
number
were
one
the number
seed.
one team. And Bobrovsky was great. He was the main catalyst, the main impetus behind the success that they had. So he's capable, but it looked like he had lost it. I mean, he just wasn't the same goalie here with the Panthers. Had a horrible season his first year and had a season that was more indicative of that first year. This past year, he's been with the team now, 4 years, $40 million worth of goaltending mistakes that Dale Talon has had to live with. And while he may have been gargling with embalming fluid early in the game, thinking, "What did I do? What did I do?" He's long gone from the franchise, so maybe he doesn't care as much. He's got plenty of Vinny Viola's money at this point. You had to really be amazed that Bobrovsky was able to have the third period that he did, where he stopped a lot of point blank stuff from the Toronto Maple Leafs. That they had an ample opportunity. It seemed like they were going to tie the game the entire third period, right down to the bitter end, and they weren't able to muster anything up or get anything past Bobrovsky.
They
So
had a lot of activity.
here we sit, man, 2-0. I mean, a remarkable Cinderella story being written by a number 8 seed. So, and I thought maybe the Kraken can catch the second game. And, the way we're looking at it, who would have had Panthers Kraken for the Stanley Cup championship?
That'd
Now
be amazing.
that would have taken some guts.
That would have pissed people off in the hockey world.
Yeah. So, anyway, great stuff there. And game 3 is Sunday. No Canadians are allowed into the building. I don't know how they're going to weed them out altogether, but that has been a subject of much derision and disgrace
Yeah, it was
for
dumb.
the Florida Panther organization. Which you also have to look at this. I mean, suppose that you're a Toronto resident that spends time down here and you rent a place for like 6 months every year, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you don't have an official residency in the United States, but maybe you've gone to like a zillion Panther games because you're a big hockey fan.
Yep.
And you can't buy a ticket off the organization because you have a residence in Canada? What kind of asinine position is that? How does Gary Bettman not intervene here?
It's stupid.
I mean, it's almost. I mean, there are elements of international racism involved there. That is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. The Panthers' stance that they won't sell tickets directly to anybody that doesn't have a U.S. residency. Absolutely unacceptable BS and another embarrassment. I mean, even when we're rolling, we have to embarrass ourselves. What is up
Yes.
with that with South Florida franchises?
That's what's
Even when things are great, Stephen Ross, you have to honor Tim Tebow. Get out of here.
what do you mean? The news last year with the Brady stuff was when the Dolphins were playing well. Dolphins
Yes.
lost the first round pick. Tua was playing well, so you didn't need to question Tua. And that's when they met with Brady. Oops, I guess they lose a pick. It was like, even now.
Imagine it. Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins would have been picking somewhere around 20th or
Yeah, but they would have
somewhere
gotten
in
a
there.
key player. They probably would have gotten an offensive lineman
Right.
or tight end, which is they need desperately.
Some big tackle. I mean, when you're watching Tua Tagovailoa, being attended to by the medical people after getting crushed again and concerned about having concussions, just think you could have had that 320-pound offensive tackle that might have been out there. Might have been a little bit raw because he wasn't taken right away. But, in the first round, you're figuring a guy has to have some kind of significant talent or upside that would even draw that kind of attention. And that's because they wanted to have a cup of coffee with Tom Brady. Unbelievable. Who was never going to come here anyway, right? Never.
He wasn't coming. No, never. He
He
might
was
have.
dealing with Giselle. He was dealing with, the sentiment that he had about having to leave the Patriots. He realized the Tampa Bay Buccaneers maybe weren't going to be that great, but certainly were in as good a shape to give him a chance to win another title as the Dolphins would have been. Even if he got a piece of the team, well, what does he care? He doesn't need it. He's got a $350 million television contract that he signed, and he doesn't even know if he wants to accept.
Exactly.
Even though he signed a contract, he's not even sure if he wants to do it. Give me a year off. Like, this is overwhelmingly taxing to do this, Lubie. I mean, we just rolled out of bed. You could sit there. You don't think Tom Brady could do color analysis on a football game without any preparation whatsoever?
I mean, I'm sure he would have some, but yes, 100%. He'd be
All
fine.
he would have to do is tell people what was going on out there in the field and tendencies that he was well aware of. from certain coaches and players, and he would be Tony Romo to an exponent of 10 if he spoke clearly and shut up once in a while. Let the guy call the
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, unfortunate that our teams always want to embarrass themselves, and you hate to shade what the Panthers are doing. But 2-0, fantastic. Heat play Saturday, tomorrow, and they'll get it on in the afternoon. I would not be overwhelmingly confident if I was a Knicks fan. Word is supposedly Jimmy Butler is going to be okay for this game 3.
I like the word that's coming out, and I think it's the most cautious way of putting reality that you'd ever hear. There are hopes that Jimmy Butler can play. I'm like, did you watch Jimmy Butler in that game?
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was waving goodbye to the Knicks fans, smiling.
Well, we thought that of Antetokounmpo, though. Remember after we watched him and he sat out game 2,
Yeah.
and you thought, wow, the guy looks great. He's cheering, he's jumping up and down, and then he didn't play game 3 either.
Well, and now Budenholzer's fired. So
Yeah, that was another development yesterday. That's kind of interesting. Did you know this? You want an oddball stat that I picked up off ESPN, Lubie?
Ready. Let's go. What's the
Okay, of the last 4 prior to this year NBA championship teams, the last 4. I mean, I'm talking about the last 4 years. This is very recent. This isn't going way back into the distant past. Hey, Defo, how about a reference from the 40s? No, we're talking about the last 4 years. 3 of the coaches of those championship teams are no longer with that team.
Yeah, Vogel was fired.
Vogel, Nick Nurse, and now Budenholzer.
Fired and Budenholzer. Yeah, So
the only guy that kept the job was Steve Kerr, and he isn't going anywhere until he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, this isn't the Bucks situation. Jimmy Butler was literally mocking the fans. There's no way Jimmy Butler's doing that and then not playing. Jimmy Butler is 100% playing. 100. I have literally not even a 0.1% doubt that not only Jimmy Butler will play in that game, Jimmy Butler is going to wreak havoc. That dude was so pissed he wasn't playing game 2, and no one can tell me that it was his choice. No one. There's no one to say that Jimmy was like, sorry, coach, I can't go. There's no way. The dude was trying to show us video of him walking around New York City to show that he was fine. And then
he was working out with the Jets. He was catching passes from Aaron Rodgers. He was taking a couple of cuts in the batting cage with the Yankees. He was all over it in New York City. Like I said, he was even doing some kicks with the Rockettes. Appeared to be fine. Anyway, that's Sunday. I mean, we got a lot of good stuff going on. Marlins losers again yesterday. Get swept by the Braves. Dylan Dodd was on the mound. Didn't do too badly. 6 innings of 3-run ball, but it wasn't good enough. Jim Sardi keeps trying to sell me Jorge Soler, who now, after a 3-for-5 game and a home run, has boosted his average to 220. I don't know. That's nothing to write home about.
Okay, where's Garcia? Where's Avisel Garcia? He was another big sign.
Avisel Garcia is injured now, and he's another guy that's hitting below the Mendoza line. Horrendous. Always striking out with the bases loaded in key spots. How they bet that guy 4th? I mean, what is this, a new manager thinking, right?
They don't have anyone else. I mean, Jazz Chisholm has been an utter disaster. Like Segura was another signing that they liked.
Segura's hitting right around the Mendoza line, too. I think he's at a deuce.
I mean, Burdick, they're big. The one draft pick that's supposed to be good, disaster. Soler's been better, but still disaster.
I don't know if he's been any better. I mean, he has a bunch of home runs. I guess he's got 6. I mean, is that really anything to write home about?
That's not even a high number. If you're going to be a home run hitter, you should have.
It's not like he's Alonso with the Mets. Yeah.
He should have double digits by now if home runs are his thing.
How about a hard hitting, 5 home run guy, like a guy that's hitting 275 with that? Yeah. I know it's early and averages can fluctuate wildly, but to see everybody floundering around the bottom there and around the Mendoza line is just not a good development. So anyway, Atlanta now 22-10 on the season, and they are the second best team in baseball. Tampa Bay 26-6, remarkable, and they take on the Yankees now in a series with the Yankees teetering on the brink as well. It's John Feinstein City for them, and Pittsburgh surprisingly 20-12. Those are 20-win teams so far in Major League Baseball, Mike Lubie. And weird developments. We'll get into this on the Defo show. Weird developments at the Kentucky Derby. So much stuff is happening there. Thank goodness that we're going to have Kate and Bradar on the show today. Somewhere around what time is she coming on our regular show?
7:45. She'll be joining us.
She may do the rest of the show because it's going to take. You got a lot of explaining to do. Now it's not Caton's, doing, but nonetheless, she's reporting on the backstretch there, and just crazy developments. 4 horses have died, either been euthanized or just collapsed after either working out or racing at Churchill Downs in the last week. Okay. Two of them just collapsed after races, and they're both trained by Safi Joseph, who is a local trainer here at Gulfstream Park, who dominates the Gulfstream Park meet now. He came into prominence a few years ago. There were some questions about whether or not he was operating on a level because he was winning so much. That usually happens when a guy sort of comes on the scene, and next thing you know, he's winning at like a 30% clip, and everything he sends out is right there.
So he's doing.
Uh, but no of the none of these aspersions that have been thrown his way about maybe illegal drug use have resulted in Baffert-like suspensions until now. And this wasn't over drugs; it was just the mystery. The odds of two horses collapsing like that from the same barn are in the trillions, one in a trillion, in a short period of time. And so Churchill Downs, the people there have suspended Safi Joseph, scratched his horse,
Yep.
who won the Wood Memorial at a giant price. But you would have to accord him a shot. He'd already beaten accomplished 3-year-olds. And so, yeah, he's out of the race. And anybody that even knows this guy or ever talked to him on the phone can't run at Churchill Downs right now. And then on top of that, the West Coast horse that was favorite, Practical Something, ended up being scratched also. Had incurred some kind of fever, and this was an unfortunate piece of bad timing for the connections there. But yeah, so chaos, and we'll discuss that with Kate and Brainer, who couldn't be any more of an appropriate person to talk to about any of this stuff. And that's coming up on the Defo Show. Subscribe to South Florida Live. We need your 5 reasons people to convert a little bit. And, you can watch two things, over the course of a day. South Florida Live, subscribe to that. You get the Defo Show, and often features one Ethan Scoop Skolnick, who is he coming on today, or is he's out for the week? No, done.
Hopefully next week we'll get him on. He was
Okay.
sick. Was living well.
All right. Well, we'll catch you Monday, the next edition of Defo on 5. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the Derby, all the playoff games, and everything else that's happening in the world of sport. And for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition of Defo on 5.